Peace be upon you, dear viewers of Heartbeats for Allah. This news managed to capture people's attention in an unprecedented way. Across the globe, eyes widened and curiosity stirred. The world was left pondering. How could such an event take place? The night the moon of Ramadan appeared, 200 Americans accepted Islam, and the news spread like wildfire. As it reached every corner of the world, it raised a series of questions. What happened that night that led to such a massive conversion? This wasn't just a regular story. This was something truly extraordinary. It caused ripples in the global consciousness. The news traveled so quickly that everyone wanted to know the details. How had 200 Americans embraced Islam on the very night Ramadan began? Neither did they falter in their decision, nor express any regret later on. They had committed to Islam with unwavering determination. Muslims, including those in the mosque that night, were left shocked and confused. They had no idea how such a momentous event could occur. How did these individuals, who had no prior connection to Islam, choose this path so suddenly and so definitively? Even the Muslims who witnessed the event were amazed. It was as if the world had been turned upside down in an instant. The entire situation seemed impossible. How could 200 people decide to embrace a faith so radically different from their own in a single night? For everyone involved, it was an event that was beyond comprehension. As this news spread, the consequences were both profound and terrifying. Among the American public, especially in circles where Islam was seen with suspicion, anger, and fear began to spread. The notion that so many had converted in one night rattled those who had long held an animosity toward Islam. Among the most furious was the leader of a covert anti-Islamic group, a man named George. His anger was intense, and he could hardly believe their reports. How had they managed to bring 200 individuals to Islam so quickly? George and his team had made grand plans. They had convinced themselves that they would be able to break the spirit of the Muslim community by launching an attack, something drastic to send a message. They had even prepared a strategy that would eradicate the growing presence of Muslims. In their minds, Islam was something to be destroyed, something dangerous that threatened their way of life. They had expected these 200 individuals to come to the mosque with the intent to bring harm to the community. However, what they witnessed instead was the opposite. The Americans who had been ready to attack the mosque instead embraced Islam. Their commitment to this decision was unwavering, and their resolve shook George to the core. To him, this was a dire situation. If more people embraced Islam, they could lose control over their influence. This, in his eyes, was a threat that had to be stopped at all costs. Determined to find out the secret behind these conversions, George devised a plan. He believed that if he could uncover the truth behind how this mass conversion had happened, he could prevent further incidents. He was desperate to get to the bottom of it and stop it before more people followed the same path. He wanted to keep his countrymen from making the same decision. To uncover the mystery, George and his group took extreme measures. They started an investigation, using everything at their disposal to uncover how these 200 individuals had come to Islam. The Imam who led the mosque that fateful night found himself at the center of the storm. He had always been a humble and simple man, unaware of how his words could move so many hearts in such a profound way. Over the years, he had delivered countless sermons, offering the message of Islam and guiding people toward righteousness. He had taught many about the difference between good and bad, the importance of faith, and the virtues of fasting during Ramadan. But never before had his words had such an immediate and profound impact. The Imam was left speechless, wondering why and how this was happening. He was no stranger to giving sermons, but the impact this one night had was unprecedented. Media channels from across the world began to flood the mosque, seeking answers. Reporters, religious scholars, and leaders of different preaching groups came to the Imam, eager to find the secret behind such a significant event. They wanted to know what had caused these 200 Americans to turn to Islam in one night. Was there a hidden formula, a secret prayer, or something in the Imam's words that had touched their hearts? However, the Imam remained calm and humble. He refused to take any credit for the conversions. "I am just a simple man," he said. "Perhaps it was my destiny to be part of this blessed event. These people were living sinful lives, and God in His mercy guided them to the truth. It is not because of me, but because God had willed it." Despite his humility, the investigators persisted. They believed there was more to this story. Some even disguised themselves as Muslims, attempting to extract the truth from the Imam. They wanted to know if he had any secret influence, but he remained steadfast, unwilling to share any secrets he did not possess. Meanwhile, George's frustration grew. His plans had been ruined. He had expected those 200 individuals to join forces with his anti-Muslim group, but instead, they had embraced Islam. Their decision to stand by it only intensified his anger. If they had been able to accomplish this once, how could he ensure that others wouldn't follow suit? This question consumed him. He could not fathom how his enemies had managed to gain such a victory. To understand the situation better, he decided to infiltrate the mosque himself. Disguised as a Muslim, George spent hours observing the mosque and the people around him. He tried to find an explanation, but even after spending time there, he found no answers. There seemed to be no particular catalyst for the conversion. The Imam had been giving the same sermons, and the people seemed to embrace Islam out of a profound sense of peace and purpose. George felt his theories crumble as he couldn't find any concrete reason for such a sudden and widespread change of heart. With no answers in sight, he became even more desperate to uncover the secret. At this point, George offered a large reward to anyone who could uncover the truth behind the conversions. He hoped that someone in his circle would find a clue or piece of information that would explain how this had all unfolded. He launched a covert operation, employing all available resources to get to the bottom of it. However, despite his efforts, no one was able to find the reason behind the conversions. As George's frustration mounted, one of his men came forward with hope. "I think I know what happened," the man said. "I will get the answers for you. Just give me some time." George had little faith in the man's claim, but he agreed to give him a chance. 3 days later, the man returned, bringing with him a revelation that shocked everyone. What he shared was so unbelievable that it left George and his group speechless. The explanation he provided defied all logic and reasoning. It was so extraordinary that it was hard to believe. But when they learned the truth, their doubts vanished. The story quickly spread, and it reached the media. Muslims, hearing of the event, found their faith renewed. For many, it was a moment of reflection on the power of faith and the possibility of divine intervention. As the story spread, the 200 Americans who had converted shared their experiences, which were filled with awe and wonder. News outlets around the world gave the story significant coverage, as everyone wanted to know what had truly happened. The people who had embraced Islam explained that they had felt something powerful during their visit to the mosque. It was a moment of clarity, a turning point in their lives. But as the investigation continued, a shocking revelation came to light. The story didn't end with the conversions. The Imam had prayed that night for protection, as he had done many times before. His prayers were answered in the most miraculous way. As the leader of the anti-Islam group, George had prepared to unleash the bomb at the mosque. A strange and inexplicable event occurred. A large white cat entered the mosque and began pulling at the bag containing the bomb. The sight of the cat pulling at the bag caused a stir among the Muslims in the mosque. The Imam, sensing something was wrong, instructed the congregation to open the bag and investigate. When they did, they discovered the bomb just moments away from exploding. The bomb was deactivated, and the Imam raised his hands in prayer, thanking God for his intervention. It was a moment that no one could explain. How had the cat known what to do? This event was the turning point for George and his group. They realized that there were forces at work beyond their understanding. The cat's actions, the failed bombing, and the conversion of 200 Americans, it all came together to reinforce a simple truth. When God wills something, no one can stand in the way. This miraculous event left everyone, Muslims and non-Muslims alike, in awe. The Muslims, having witnessed God's protection, felt their faith deepen, and the 200 Americans, now fully convinced, embraced Islam. This event remained largely a secret within the community, as the Imam cautioned everyone not to share the details widely for fear of causing chaos. However, it left an indelible mark on everyone involved, a reminder that with faith, anything is possible. And so the story of the 200 Americans who embraced Islam became a testament to the power of divine intervention. A reminder that even in the face of adversity, God's will prevails.